Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and this is a breakdown of the trailer for the final season of Star Wars: The Bad Batch. Asajj Ventress somehow returned following her supposed death in the events of the Dark Disciple novel. We're gonna explain who she is and why she's back, because these final 15 episodes of The Bad Batch are coming in a 3-episode premiere starting February 21st, and we gotta break down this trailer shot by shot for all the details that you might have missed, what's going on with Asajj, her lightsaber, and other details you might have missed about her, and how the season will finally answer the question of somehow Palpatine returned. But not just that, another question that not enough people have asked about that genetic lineage that could tie in with the upcoming Star Wars movies, the Rey movie and the Thrawn movie, which I think should just be called Heir to the Empire, right? Right, yeah. And actually, you know what? Let's start with Asajj Ventress. Why not? Asajj Ventress is, of course, the Dathomirian former Night Sister, Sith assassin, apprentice to Count Dooku, and lover to Voss. Quinlan Voss, of course. This Voss is taken. Asajj was created for the original 2003 Star Wars Clone Wars, but later reintroduced in the Clone Wars animated series as Count Dooku's apprentice. But when Darth Sidious got spooked by the Sith rule of 2, he ordered Dooku to have Asajj killed, which led to Asajj rejoining her Night Sisters of Dathomir. But Asajj's life would further be explored in the 2015 novel Dark Disciple, which adapted some unused arcs of the unfinished 6th season of Clone Wars. And in Dark Disciple, Asajj Ventress falls in love with Jedi Quinlan Voss, and she ends the story getting zapped by Dooku's Sith lightning and clearly and definitely dies in Quinlan's arms, her body laid to rest in the waters of her clan's village on Dathomir. Now, you remember Quinlan Voss? The Obi-Wan Kenobi series established that Quinlan Voss survived, participating in the Path of Surviving Jedi from Order 66. And an article on StarWars.com included a quote from producer of Bad Batch, Brad Rao, saying, quote, "We don't want to spoil anything, but want fans to know that any new storytelling with Ventress will align with the events of Star Wars Dark Disciple." So they're not retconning Dark Disciple, so huh? How is Asajj back? Well, I think she did die in the events of Dark Disciple, and I think she was buried on Dathomir. Changing those parts of Dark Disciple would definitely be a retcon. But I do suspect this season of Bad Batch will adapt some elements of Dark Disciple, and we might even see Asajj's corpse resurrected with Night Sister magic. In the Ahsoka finale, of course, the Great Mothers used the same spell to resurrect those stormtroopers that the Night Sisters used in the Clone Wars episode that included Asajj rejoining the Night Sisters, in which the Night Sisters battled with the forces of General Grievous. And I think this is why it was so important for the Ahsoka series to take us back to Peridia and establish that the Thrawn allied sorceresses there were Night Sisters in particular. So that way they could bring things back to Dathomir and find a way to resurrect Asajj. And you'll notice here that Asajj in this trailer carries a yellow lightsaber that she supposedly scored on the black market. It has a curved hilt like the hilts of her former red sabers, but those were taken from her when she was ambushed by the Jedi Barriss Offee in Barriss's plot to bomb the Jedi Temple in Clone Wars Season 5 and frame it on Ahsoka as the episode The Wrong Jedi. Asajj did carry a yellow saber during the time of Dark Disciple. The color yellow was important to her during that story, as for her, it reflected how she leaned neither toward the Sith nor the Jedi. Historically, yellow lightsabers have been used by Jedi Temple Guardians, but we will most likely see how their meaning will evolve now that Rey carries a yellow saber in the final shot of The Rise of Skywalker, and we are confirmed to follow her in a future film. And I only saw like quick images from Celebration, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a yellow saber in The Acolyte. But perhaps more important to Asajj, you'll notice that she wears a blue pauldron with a coiling snake sigil. This actually comes from character art by Chris Glenn, shared in September 2014 on the Star Wars The Clone Wars official Facebook page. And the caption of this post says that this twisted black snake was, quote, "chosen since snakes are an often misunderstood creature that are assumed to be dangerous or evil when in fact they are not." So it just kind of seems like, as a resurrected Night Sister carrying a yellow saber, Asajj could really be the missing link to events decades in the future. Thrawn's return with the Night Sisters to the planet Dathomir, depicted in the Ahsoka finale, which could set up Ahsoka Season 2 and everything that's going on in Dathomir right now. And of course, in Thrawn's follow-up movie, Heir to the Empire, let's hope it's called that, but also another plot line, the Path of Jedi. I think that Quinlan Voss path could be the same path that Rey picks back up after the events of The Rise of Skywalker, and that we could learn in the series that that path was something that was overseen by both Quinlan Voss and Asajj Ventress still working together, with Asajj just resurrected with some kind of Night Sister magic. I just like this idea that the future Jedi Order could really just be called the Path, and the Path could refer to a less politically aligned group that just kind of follows a dogma of general guardianship and, you know, doing cool shit like psychometry. Okay, but let's talk about what happens in this Bad Batch trailer. This trailer opens with an Imperial Lat pursuing an A6 juggernaut hijacked by some members of the Bad Batch, including Hunter and Wrecker. And hold on a second, I'm pretty sure in this one shot where Hunter says, "Let's move," that is Crosshair back there. So Crosshair escapes. We know from other parts of this trailer that that Crosshair will spend at least some time with Omega in that Mount Tantus facility, but I'm hoping that Omega might finally complete the process of showing Crosshair the light so that our man could rejoin his brothers after some kind of extraction. But you're probably asking, why would Crosshair be with the others but not Omega? Well, maybe she is, and these shots just aren't showing it, but I'm assuming this episode is actually part of episode 12, late into the season. That episode is called Juggernaut, and this is an A6 Juggernaut that we saw in the Battle of Kashyyyk and Revenge of the Sith. Episodes 1, 2, and 3 of this final season are titled Confined, Paths Unknown, and Shadows of Tantus. And I think this season will begin with like a rescue attempt from Mount Tantus, but that attempt could fail, and maybe only Crosshair will get rescued, and that Omega could be left behind either by something going wrong or maybe even by her own choice. And then we might see a time jump, because later in this trailer, notice how Omega's hair changes at some point during the course of the season, and she looks a lot older. And we keep hearing characters saying Omega has been trapped for a long time.
Omega's been waiting for us a long time.
And they're implying that, we haven't given up on her. Structurally, this could work like Avengers Endgame's opening act. Like we get a rushed response mission that fails, followed by a several years later time jump. How much older does Omega look? I don't know. I would say at least a year. And actually later, there is a shot of a crashed shuttle that looks a lot like one of the shuttles they used to escape the Mount Tantus facility. At least I think that's what's happening there. And one of these shuttles gets shot down by a turbo laser cannon. I think this could be the site where they recover Omega to bring her back while the others have gotten away. We do see two figures walking away from the crash site, and the one closer to the crashed ship looks like Omega. But I gotta point out, we do know from another shot that Omega will join Wrecker as they're pursued by Alpha 3 Nimbus class V-Wings. These are the ones for the Kuat Corporation, precursors to Sinar Fleet Systems TIE Fighters. And in this shot, you can see Omega's energy bow on the left side of frame to the left of Wrecker. So Omega will eventually escape with the others. I just don't know if her escape attempt will be short-lived or it just might come later. And in this Juggernaut mission, they are saved in this trailer by Fee Genoa, returning from season 2, shooting down the Lat and clearing their 6 in a similar way to Han Solo saving Luke in the last second in the trench run in A New Hope. We do see more of this Juggernaut mission later in the trailer when the Juggernaut blasts across this bridge. We do see the same bridge in the opening shot of the trailer. This video is sponsored by World of Warships. And perhaps I should tell you what World of Warships is, because it's become a bit of an office obsession over here lately. World of Warships is a free-to-play game on PC and console that lets you take the helm of a fleet of ships and turn some other fleet of ships into shipwrecks. It's crazy fun, and there's always a ton of new content to explore, new ships, new in-game nations, and a ton of fun cosmetics like Godzilla vs. Kong, Transformers, and Megadeth. You can play 12 versus 12 battles alone if you'd like, but it's super fun to play in a division with your friends. To get a fleet of your own, click the link in the description to download World of Warships today. During registration, use the promo code BRAVO to receive a huge starter pack, including 500 doubloons, 1.5 million credits, 7 days of premium account time, and a ship. Next up, this ship approaches a base that's orbiting Coruscant, but this base looks pretty familiar. It actually looks like one of the massive dome ships that are stationed on Lothal throughout Rebels. Is this the same one that Ezra Bridger will wake up every morning glaring at? Or are we going to learn that the Empire established these kind of city-sized inner atmosphere landing shuttles on strategic planets that they occupy? In another shot, Rex tells Hunter,
I thought that the end of the war would mean an end to losing more of our brothers.
So we gotta assume that this final season of Bad Batch will show us how Rex ended up on Sealos with Wolf and Gregor when we catch up with them a few years after this in Rebels. But for Rex, of course, the war will never end. And even the Rebels finale epilogue implies that he fights in the Battle of Endor. Then there's this weird shot of a building that looks like one of the monasteries of the Bomar monks of Tatooine. You know, the kind that Jabba uses as his palace, but this doesn't look like Tatooine. Looks as though there's like a crashed ship or a bonfire, maybe a funeral pyre. There is this pink-skied planet later in the trailer with similar rocky plateaus. And then we flash back to Tech's sacrificial fall in the season 2 finale. Then this legion of stormtroopers marching across this yard with rows of colorful skiffs as civilians flee. I wonder if this might be on the planet with the swamp beast later in the trailer, because later we do see Wrecker and Hunter, and I think that's Fennec Shand on a boat that could be one of these skiffs. But note that we are now seeing stormtroopers, as the Empire has mostly done away with clone troopers and they're relying on an army of just normal human volunteers and draftees because, it's cheaper. But this also means that the Bad Batch are going to be way more okay using deadly fire on them instead of stun mode that they would use on their fellow clone troopers. After the events of last season, Omega is, of course, living and working in the Imperial facility on Mount Tantus on the planet Wayland, which, yes, is a reference to the Wayland Yutani Corporation, the Alien franchise. guys, but Mount Tantiss was originally a location in the Thrawn trilogy of books by Timothy Zahn. It was a base where Thrawn cloned an evil Jedi in his campaign to subvert the New Republic. The Bad Batch series has brought this location back as the setting of the Empire's cloning operation in the years after the destruction of the Kamino base. But while Omega was taken here, I don't know if she's necessarily a prisoner. She is wearing the same Kaminoan cloner patch, but it seems like she's like forced to help them and do tasks to continue the genetics research under Dr. Hemlock, who is voiced by Jimmy Simpson. And we learned at the end of last season that Dr. Emery Carr is, like Omega, a fellow clone sister, both of them coming from the unaltered DNA of Jango Fett. In this facility, Omega passes a very, very tired looking Crosshair. She did find him in the season 2 finale in this facility in a kind of bed scanner that looked like the one Grogu was in chapter 3 of The Mandalorian. But yeah, the two are gonna find a way to connect. And we see how important this whole cloning operation is to Emperor Palpatine as Ian McDiarmid himself appears as the Emperor. He's flanked by 2 Red Royal Guards, as well as the Kaminoan Nala Se, Dr. Hemlock, and a few Imperial clone commandos. And he says,
"There is nothing of greater importance to secure the future of this empire."
Yeah, we have to assume that by the future of this empire, he's referring to the future of his own genetics, finding their way into a viable strand cast so that he can be, in effect, immortal and come back somehow in The Rise of Skywalker. Immortality was Palpatine's pursuit ever since his time with Darth Plagueis the Wise. And it's been clear for a while now that, Nala Se and Hemlock, Omega, and Carr on this show are all part of the plan to show the early steps of Palpatine's cloning experiments to explain his return in that episode 9 film. Now, the Rise of Skywalker novelization goes into more of the cloning science details, but I think the way this show will surprise us is by establishing how within the DNA of Palpatine's various strand casts might be an ounce of goodness that could come from Omega, like a dormant gene that might make one of Palpatine's strand casts a dud, but that guy could ultimately be the father of Rey, and that could justify how Rey is who she is, related to Palpatine, but also just has some great qualities, things that she gets from Omega. Now, there's this interesting shot here in front of the Mount Tantiss base where stormtroopers are faced by this dark armored clone trooper. I thought this might be Crosshair, but no, I'm pretty sure this is one of the assassin clones that we saw in season 2 episode 7. Remember?
You're fighting the wrong battle, brother. So what does that make you? I believe,
Actually, it could be this character listed in the trailer's closed captioning as CX1, and we hear him say this.
They are coming for all of you.
Yeah, at one part during the sequence, it looks like this line is being spoken by a clone, so I'm assuming CX1 is a clone assassin, and I guess I'm just saying that because we met Clone X, and maybe they're just incorporating the letter X into this one's name. Fennec Shand returns, her helmet on the table as she takes a drink. Cad Bane enters through a doorway, blasters drawn. We saw Fennec and Cad in Bad Batch Season 1, that amazing duel as Fennec aided the Bad Batch and Nala Se in rescuing Omega from Cad Bane on Borovio, as Cad Bane was hired by the Kaminoan Prime Minister Lama Su to find her. Both characters would appear in live action, of course, Fennec Shand first in The Mandalorian, and then both of them were in the Book of Boba Fett, which ended with Boba Fett defeating Cad in a duel, but a light was left blinking on his armor, so who knows? Like, if Asajj Ventress can come back, Cad Bane can come back, but that's like years from now. Hunter says this line,
We're not big on following orders.
which has got to be a nod to the whole Plan 99, Tech's final words.
When have we ever followed orders?
But notice in this shot, the barrel of a sniper rifle is to the left of Hunter. I assume this is Crosshair, just another piece of evidence that Crosshair escapes Mount Tantiss and will rejoin the crew. Just so we're clear, Bad Batch's 15 episodes are titled Confined, Paths Unknown, Shadow of Tantiss. Those first 3 episodes on February 21st. Then on February 8th, episode 4, A Different Approach. March 6th, episode 5, The Return. March 13th, episode 6 and 7, Infiltration and Extraction, both on that day. Then on March 20th, episode 8, Bad Territory. March 27th, episode 9, The Harbinger. April 3rd, episodes 10 and 11, Identity Crisis and Point of No Return. April 10th, episode 12, Juggernaut. April 17th, episode 13, Into the Breach. April 24th, episode 14, Flash Strike. And then on May the 1st, the finale episode, The Cavalry Has Arrived. May the 1st. That's just a few days before May the 4th, Star Wars Day. So doesn't it feel like something big might be revealed in this finale? It could be any number of things, some setup for Ahsoka Season 2 or Thrawn, but I kind of feel like it's going to be a link way into the future to Rey and the Path. Like they might say that the Path is really a tradition originated by Asajj Ventress and Quinlan Voss and their love for each other. But I want to know from you, what do you think the big twist of this final season of Bad Batch is gonna be? If you haven't already, do us a favor, give this video a like and subscribe to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, thanks for watching, bye-bye.